Hello, and welcome to a Project Diablo 2 Fist of Heaven's build guide. I'm going to be going over a number of things in this video. First, we're going to start with equipment and character stats. Then I'm going to talk about the different skills. I will be doing a Chaos Sanctuary demo, and then we'll talk about some other stuff like how to initially gear up the character, where to farm, and how to progress your character from league start to, in-game. The first thing I'm going to talk about are the attributes because it's very simple. So you're going to want enough strength to wear your gear. After that, you're going to want enough dex for max block. So right now you can see I have a 75% chance to block. That's specifically with the skill Holy Shield. So activate it. So this ups that block chance. So just make sure that you have enough dexterity for that. I'd also like to point out that every time that you level up, you might need to put more points in dexterity. So just be very mindful of that. Everything else needs to go into vitality. You want a nice big life pool, especially when you're pushing harder content like tier 3 maps. As far as energy goes, Fist of Heavens does cost a good amount of mana, but we don't care. We don't want to put any points in energy, like most Diablo 2 builds or Project Diablo 2 builds. So that's it for attributes. Next up, we're going to talk about equipment. So this is the in-game gear equipment. And let's just jump into it. So the first thing, combat skillers. Everyone is going to max them out. I don't run a Geeds. I just run 9 combat skillers. And then I run a torch. If I had an Annie, I'd run that. As far as the other charms, it's just resist, magic find, stuff to kind of fill out your character. As far as the actual items, let's just start at the top. So I'm running the entire Griswold set. Now, there are other builds that might not run the Griswold set, where you run a Shaco and, Hand of Blessed Light and Herald of Zakarum. Personally, I don't see how those items can compete with what I have going on now. And specifically, I'll kind of talk about that. So let's start off with this helmet. You see, it gives a bunch of all res on it. This one is corrupted for +1 all skills, but you don't need that. It just gives a ton of magic find, some good all res, and then it gives that set bonus. So let's talk about the set bonuses on the individual piece. So we have 2 to offensive auras. That's solid. I benefit from this, a pretty good bit. But we're going to talk about the entire set as a whole. So +3 to Paladin skill levels. That's gigantic. That's insane. 20 FCR, very good. 30 fast hit recovery. Hit recovery is always beneficial. 20 strength, 30 dex. Stats are great. A bunch of flat life, bunch of all res, more magic find. Really, what else could you ask for? It's just chef's kiss. Like it's perfect. So yeah, the helm doesn't give a ton of stats individually, but we're going for that set bonus. So next we're going to go over to the weapon. So the big thing on the weapon is it gives +2 to combat skills. So it's since all of our damage comes from combat skills, +2 to combat skills is basically a +2 to your damage. The other stuff not super relevant. The Griswold's Redemption can roll 3 or 4 sockets. You can see in mine, I have it 4-socketed, and I'm running with 4 ists. This is expensive. You do not need to do this. If you're starting off, if you have a 3-socket or a 4-socket, you can easily grab tier runes and get mana per kill and throw them in there, and that'll make leveling up or just running around a little bit easier. I did that, and then I cleansed it, I think, with the Hell Rune, whatever that cube recipe is. But yeah, so +2 to your main damage skills, pretty great. As far as Griswold's Ornate Plate, so the things that this can roll are 2 to 3 sockets and then 1 to 2 Paladin skill levels. So you're going to want to get a 3-socket and you're going to want to get +2 to Paladin skill levels. The reason why this is great is for a number of reasons. So first off, another +2 to Paladin skills, fantastic. The 3 sockets, we're going to just throw in more Perfect Topazes, get another 72% magic find, and then this has a local set bonus of 30 faster cast rate. So we're getting tons of cast rate from the build so far. So next up, we're going to talk about the shield. Shield just has pretty solid stats. This is going to be where you get the majority of your resistances. So mine has some sockets, and I threw some perfect diamonds in it. So now, as you can see, it has 76 to all resistances. On top of that, we have the FCR, the block rate, the increased chance of blocking. Just good stuff. It's very solid. It only takes 4 pieces, and yeah, it just gives you a ton of stats. So as far as the other gear, you're going to want a blue +3 combat skills amulet. I have mine slammed with +1 to all skills. That is a fantastic corruption. I would also like to point out that if you're looking to min-max a lot of the stuff, you can get +1 all skills on the shield. You can get +1 to all skills on this. I did believe you can get, yeah, you can get +1 to all skills here. I'm not sure about the body armor. Haven't really looked into that much, but yeah. So that's what the amulet is. As far as the gloves, you really don't have another choice. You are going to be using lightning mage fists, and that's because +1 to lightning skills. You can see 46 here, 45 on holy bolt. So it does add to your Fist of the Heavens. So you're going to want to get Lightning Mage Fists. If you corrupt them for faster cast rate, you might also be able to fit in more skill rings, but mine are clean because I don't feel like bricking them and then having to buy another pair. At some point I'm going to corrupt them, but not today. Next up we have a 10 FCR ring with some resist, cold, lightning, fire. It's okay. Arachnid Mesh. As you can see, I have the most garbage Arachnid Mesh you'd ever see. So the 10 FCR on Arachnid Mesh, not great, but that's all I care about is hitting 125 exactly. So boom, boom, we're at 125. So let's say I didn't have this. So this allows me to run a Stone of Jordan. But if I did not have this, I would just run another 10 FCR ring. So, I mean, starting off as progression, getting 10 FCR rings with the Griswold set and a +3 amulet and Mage Fist, like you're looking at tons of damage, and it's not that hard to get off the ground. Obviously, if you can get more cast rate, then you can run double skill rings, but that's a little bit trickier. You might have to slam cast speed on the Mage Fist or get a perfect Arachnid Mesh. Good luck with that. Anyway, so moving on, like I said, skill ring. I had a Wisp Projector here I found. I actually traded that Wisp Projector because I didn't care about the Spirit of the Wolverine. And I traded it for the Stone of Jordan, and I believe I got like a Zod plus a Vex or something for it. So huge, allows me to get more currency and upgrade my gear, and all I cared about was the +1 to all skills on a ring. So if you do end up in that same situation, I would advise trading down and just getting a random skill ring. For the boots are very important. So you need Cannot Be Frozen. Obviously, you can slam it on something, and then you can run whatever boots you want. However, honestly, I'd rather go for other corruptions and then just run Cannot Be Frozen on my boots. So there's two options here. We have Rite of Passage, which are very cheap, and then there are Marrow Walks, which are a little bit more expensive, and I just haven't found them, and I don't care about trading for them. So I'm rocking the Rite of Passage, and I feel pretty good about that. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it for gear. I'm going to talk about my mercenary gear while I'm talking about my in-game gear, just because I think the mercenary is very important. So with a build like this, the mercenary needs to stay alive. They kind of face tank a lot of the bosses because you end up just Holy Bolt shotgunning them and the boss, which heals them and lets them kind of tank for you. So because of that, you're going to want them to be very tanky. So as you see, he's got a lot of armor, but if we go out and about, he once he gets his aura active, okay, apparently his aura is active in town on him. Okay, yes, so it's not active on me. I'm sorry. Anyways. So, yeah, so he's got 12,382 defense, very good. He's got a Tao's Mask. This is mainly for the lifesteal. As you can see, I have a max lifesteal roll. The all-res isn't bad. For the weapon, I found an Ethereal Bone Hew. Now, if you don't have this weapon, you can use a Insight. I used an Insight for a very long time. I found a very good base for an Insight, and it did a ton of damage, and it was a max meditation roll. So I used that for a very long time. You can also build an Obedience, but realistically, like, there's pretty good options and pretty cheap. I think you could probably pick up something, similar to this for like pretty inexpensive on the trade site. I have a Leviathan here, and mainly this is for two reasons. One, it's got a ton of defense, 621 on it, crazy. But the PDR, 28% physical damage reduction is huge. We also got String of Ears, so more lifesteal, more PDR. You just gotta love those stats; they're just fantastic. Slaying of Hands. This is mainly because of the 20% attack speed. Magna Skin is also a great option. Really, any 20 IAS gloves are great. If they have lifesteal, if you craft blood gloves with IAS and lifesteal, that'd be fantastic. I'm rocking Gore Riders, Goblin Toe. There's a lot of really good options. Also, if you want to go budget options, you can go Sigyn's boots and gloves. And getting that two-piece, I believe, gives like lifesteal and the attack speed. So like that's not a bad starter option. But the Merc is important, and I would definitely recommend an Act 2 Defiance Merc. Next, we're talking about skills. So skills, starting off with the combat skills. So we are a a Fist of the Heavens Paladin, and so that's gonna be our main skill. We're gonna max that out, and we're gonna max out all the synergies. When you start off leveling this build, you can start off with a synergy Holy Bolt at level 1 and just keep pumping it all the way up, and it works pretty well. I will say that Holy Bolt gets an additional bolt at levels 15 and 25, and so if you are able to get that early +5 to skill level while you're leveling and have those 3 Holy Bolts, it is a huge, huge boon and will help a lot with your clear and your single target. So yeah, so we're going to max out Fist of the Heavens, we're going to max out Holy Bolt, we're going to max out Holy Nova, and we're going to max out Holy Light. Holy Nova, I really like. It has a lot of burst healing. The magic damage is okay, but really, I mean, you can see here, it heals for almost 1,300. It's instant cast. It does have a long cooldown, but it's fantastic for a burst heal on your Merc. Holy Bolt does not heal for very much. I mean, we're looking at 3 bolts for 35 each. We're looking at like 100 health. Like, that's not going to be enough to really save him. Obviously, you're spamming it, but on single target fights, I'll basically shotgun the Holy Bolts through them, and then I'll switch over to the Holy Nova. Here, I can actually show you kind of what I'm talking about. So in Frigid, like let's say if I've got them highlighted, I'm just holding my mouse button, and so you can see it's Holy Bolted, so I'll just toggle and switch over, and then switch back almost immediately. So I'll chug a potion, and then we'll just do that again. And that is kind of how I use Holy Nova, especially on difficult bosses, map bosses, things of that nature. So Holy Nova is very useful. Not great for damage, but great for burst healing on your Merc. As far as other skills, we're going to have a 1-point wonder going all the way down to Holy Shield. Holy Shield gets a ton of plus skills because we care so much about combat skills. So, you know, I put 1 point and it's got plus 25 to skills. So it does great. Activate it, get max block, you know, get more defense. It's just a fantastic survivability skill. We did put a point in Blessed Hammer, Conversion, Charge, and Smite. We don't really use any of these except for Charge. Charge is great here. So, you know, I use Charge for mobility. It's much better in the open field. And, yeah, so it just kind of helps you get around. So that's pretty much it for combat skills. Next, we're going to go into auras. So as far as auras are concerned, you can really do whatever you want. The most important aura for you for clearing is Redemption. So Redemption allows you to kind of eat all the corpses that you're making from murdering everything and convert that into health and mana restoration. So it's very, very beneficial. Generally, I don't have to drink any potions at all when I'm running around. If I'm taking a lot of damage, then sometimes I'll have to use a potion. But I will say that you will need some mana potions for bossing generally. So yeah, fantastic aura. As far as that, you know, we're going to take Prereqs, Prayer, Defiance, Vigor. After that, you can take whatever you want. So at one point, I was Conviction because we had some elemental damage. I've been running with a bunch of physical damage dealers, so we don't care about Conviction. Drop that. We don't have anyone that brings Concentration, so I pick that up, and whenever I'm running in groups, I just run that. I could very easily put 1 point in Fanaticism and run that as well, but I think we have some mercenaries that have like Beast or whatever the rune word is that brings that. As far as other auras notable, Salvation is fantastic. If you look at my resistances, so 112, 112, 106, that is not enough to prevent being broken from high level Conviction. So now if you notice, if I activate Salvation, boom, we're at an absurd amount. Like I'm not getting broken there. So I highly recommend 1 point in Salvation. Very good. And then Cleansing, I think, is another very good 1 point. So you activate it, and I find that amplify damage or lower resist whenever that is applied to you or your party. Just kind of toggle this on. I'll toggle this Cleansing, and then if I need some more mana, I'll toggle back to the Redemption, and then we'll put on Cleansing again. Alright, so this is a gameplay guide. So I didn't want to commentate while I was running it, so this is just a chaos that I just did, and I'm going to commentate. So I start off with charging, and this speeds up our run walk. I then swap to my Nauseous Puzzler to get across any gaps, and we're trying to get to the Chaos Sanctuary as fast as possible. This other stuff, sometimes you can kill some of the ghosts, But I don't really like fighting here because the ghosts are the big priority because their rune drop chance is a little bit higher, but they're often over the lava, so I don't find that it's very useful. You can see here, I Fist of the Heavens a big pack, and then I kind of skip some stuff. If there's a lot of ghosts, I'll try and fight them a little bit more. You can see my health's dipping a little bit low. I'm not going to use a potion. We're going to be relying completely on redemption. So let me go ahead. I'm going to move my webcam a little bit. So yeah, just redemption is granting my mana and health restoration. So we activate that. Fist of Heavens twice, it wipes out the whole pack. As you can see, my mana dips to half health. As soon as redemption, boom, back up to full. So very, very good restoration with salvation. I'm Fist of Heavensing, and you can tell, generally when I try and cast it, I'll try and cast it on the closest target, and that's because if there's other targets behind it, it will spawn holy bolts to all of those targets, which allows it to kind of shotgun and do a lot of damage to all of the targets behind my initial target. On single target, I'm holy bolting generally, but yeah, so to say is no problem. We're going down to Infector of Souls, and we're making pretty good time. We just use the Naja's Puzzler whenever it's convenient. Activate the seal. Sometimes swapping weapons can be a little finicky. And yeah, so we're just going to decimate the Infector of Souls and this other named. You can see I holy bolt a little bit, and then I throw in a Nova. That Nova is more of a muscle memory. During maps, your Merc will often get low, and so Holy Nova is just a great way to keep him topped off. So for this, I teleport in, and we're now at Diablo. I activate Concentration Aura for my Merc. And you can see that I just kind of melt him shotgunning with Holy Bolts, and I just face tank him. And we got some Sandstorm Treks. So not a bad little showcase. Took 2 minutes. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about is gearing. How do we get to this in-game gear? So we're talking about leveling gear, leveling skills, things of that nature. So we'll talk about skills a little bit before, but we start off with Holy Bolt. Yeah, basically you max that out, grab whatever ores you can. You can actually level as Holy Fire, Zeal, and then switch over if you want to. There's plenty of guides on that, mostly for normal D2, but they would definitely still apply here if you want to get to like level 20 or 30 that way. But let's talk about gear. So Act 1, just start. What do you do? First off, we're looking for 10 FCR rings and an amulet. We're looking for belts so we can get more mana potions, and then we are farming a stealth from the Black Marsh on the Countess. So we go here, we run around, we find the Countess, we get our stealth. Stealth still is very good, even though it's nerfed incredibly hard in PD2, but it's still great. It's got the run walk, it's got the cast speed, it's just got good stuff. So grab one of those if you're solo. If you're in a big group, maybe it's not worth it. If you're in a group setting, maybe funnel a stealth or something to the teleport character. But regardless, if you're running solo, I would highly recommend doing that. So that's Act 1. Act 2, 3, 4, 5. Just find what you can. Keep an eye out for 4-socket weapons, 4-socket Paladin shields. Once you kill Bale, I would advise doing some cow runs to try and get bases, specifically to 4-socket. You can make sure let's see here. My loot filter shows how many sockets different bases have. So let me see if there's like a white item or something. I don't know if there's just a generic white item in here, but anyway, so my loot filter will say like has, if I Larzik it, it'll be 4 sockets or whatever. You're looking for a sword and a paladin shield, both with 4 sockets to go double spirit. Now, spirit is also nerfed in this because it only gives +1 to all skills instead of +2. But the faster cast rate is very helpful. It gives a lot of good stats. If you can't make that, that's fine. Ancient's Pledge is a very good it's a very good resist shield, and it's very easy to make that. You just find a 3-socket shield, especially since you're a paladin, all the paladin shields are open. The runes, you can get them from the Act 5 quest, and boom, you're good to go. I would highly recommend trying to make a Rhyme shield at some point. I actually think Rhyme is more important than a Spirit shield later on once you get to Hell, because of that 15 magic find is huge early on, just absolutely massive, and the cannot be frozen is so important. If you get frozen, you're probably going to die, especially in Hell. So I think that's very important. So you're going to get through Nightmare, and then once you're in Hell, you need to do a couple things. So first off, I would look up on how to get a 3 open socket helmet. I believe that you can just get it from Charcy or some of the vendors, and then a 4 open socket body armor. Your loot filter might specify like, hey, this can be Larzik for 3 sockets, or that, hey, this can be Larzik quested for 4 sockets. I would personally blow my Larza quest on those because if you do both of those, you could throw in 7 perfect topazes, and that's so much magic find. If you do that combined, because if you see here, a perfect topaz is 24 magic find in the armor and the helmet. So 7 times 24 is a lot of magic find. Plus, if you're still using the Rhyme, that's another 50, and you're off to the races. So now what do? You have a bunch of magic find, you have very, very little plus skills, very little survivability, and we activate Holy Shield, throw on Redemption. Where do we go? We go to the Outer Cloister, and we're going to the Pits. Now, why are we going to the Pits? Pits is probably the easiest eye level 85 zone. There's no magic immunes. There are some lightning immunes, I think, but that's not a huge deal. Fist of Heavens does lightning damage, but mostly we care about the magic damage. So, we're running, we're looking for the road splitting. So, I don't know if it's going to be this way or the other way, but we'll just take a guess. Here it is, boom, there's Pits. Now, why is pit farming good? Because there's lots of monsters. The Fallen or the Devilkin, since there's so many of them, it will spawn Holy Bolts per monster around. And so you just run around here, you do some pit farming, and it's a good way to get gear early on. As you can see, I have a lot of magic find. Maybe we find something as we're running around, but you're gonna live here, and then people are gonna say, "Oh, hey, why aren't you doing cows?" I do not think cows is worth it. Now, specifically, the reason why is for cows to be worth it, I believe that you're going to have to put a point in the Holy Freeze, and the kiting and the number of cows is great, but like just the kiting you're going to have to do, and then the fact that it's not an island level 85 zone, in my opinion, is kind of garbage. I think that it's much more in your benefit to do pits until you get some amount of gear, and then use that to go straight into Chaos Sanctuary. So we go pits, and then after that we're going Chaos Sanctuary. And the Chaos Sanctuary is actually very easy for this class, specifically because Fist of the Heavens actually does better the more monsters there are. And the density of Chaos Sanctuary is huge. There's so many monsters in there. So you can actually get away with kind of garbage gear in Chaos Sanctuary as long as you're not dying. As long as you have those resistances, you're going to be okay. As far as killing Diablo afterward, it might be a little bit of a struggle. I think it's probably still worth slogging through. But do what you can, see what feels comfortable for you. You're probably shooting for at least like plus 5 to all skills before you're doing Chaos Sanctuary, but really that's it. You just do those 2 things, and you're going to be grinding Chaos Sanctuary for a while. And from there, you're going to want to grind all your combat skillers and the Griswold set. That is the most important things. Personally, I think the combat skillers is more important than the Griswold set. So I pick up, maybe 3 or 4 of these, and then after that, maybe work on the Griswold set, and then finish it off. Picking up a Lightning Mage Fist is also very good. You definitely don't want to care about the Arachnomesh or the SOJ. That's expensive and not important. A plus 3 combat skills amulet might cost you like we're talking maybe an or something. Probably not even that. Maybe like 5 World Stone Shards at the max. Maybe 2 or 3. So this should be cheap if it's corrupted in something garbage. But as long as you have your plus 3 to combat skills, you don't really care. So great way to start off. And that's kind of how you progress, and you're just going to keep farming Chaos. It's a great place to farm. And once you have like full combat skillers and you have a pretty good setup, start mapping. Mapping will probably feel worse when you first start. If it's very slow, don't do it. You go back to Chaos. But if you're doing maps in a fast enough pace, I have found multiple high runes while mapping. I have not found any high runes while doing Chaos, and I've done a lot of Chaos this league. So if you're looking for high runes, then maps will definitely be your best bet. On top of that, in my opinion, maps have like a very good drop chance on Grand Charms. I find Grand Charms like every 15 seconds while doing maps. They're just dropping constantly. And so early on in the ladder and early on in the leagues, if you can find all these Grand Charms and then just start selling them, if you get a skills Grand Charms for something you don't need, you can sell that for an rune and then trade that for what you need, or sell it for whatever. And so trying to get into mapping is definitely where you want to be. And then, you just finish off the character and get into in-game gear. So that's kind of how the leveling and gearing progression would go, in my opinion. All right, so that's it for the build. And I hope you enjoyed it. In the future, we're going to be talking about, I've got a couple other characters. So I'm currently leveling a martial arts assassin. It's got some pretty good gear. I've got an enchant sorceress, and she is a money pit. I just keep throwing high runes in her and then cry. And then what else do I got going on? So then I have some other video ideas. I'm going to do a mapping with this character, and then I have 2 other videos with. Sorry. And then I have 2 other videos, just generic tips, and then how to have a successful league start. So yeah, have some other videos coming in the pipeline. So thanks for watching, and let me know of any of those topics what you're most interested in, and I'll try to work on that next. So thanks, and have a good evening.